What's up everybody, Kai here, and welcome to the 4th episode of Tutorial Tuesday. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying this series to date, and it's helping you guys learn a little bit more about Photoshop currently, because that is what we are concentrating on. I just want to say that I am sorry about the pace of the videos. They are really slow, and for people who know a lot of these techniques, it's just way too slow for them to watch, and I can understand that concern, but really, these videos aren't for people who know stuff about Photoshop. They're for people who are just getting started doing graphics. So that's the reason I go with such a slow pace. That way the people don't have to worry about, having to go back and rewatch portions of the videos. They can just watch it at a really nice pace and not have to worry about, running out of time keeping up with it. So, but from now on, I will be doing all of the videos in 15-minute intervals. So some sections are probably going to take a really long time to get through. So, but once we get through all the basics of Photoshop, we're going to get into all the fun stuff like specific techniques for both Photoshop and Cinema 4D, and that'll be when everybody will be able to really enjoy the Tutorial Tuesday series. But let's go ahead and get started because we only have 15 minutes. So I want to get in as much stuff as we can. This is where we left off last time, where we had the banner created and the Tutorial Tuesday logo put in there as well. So we're going to go ahead and mess around with this. It has been a while since I looked at this, so I definitely want to mess around with the placement of everything a little bit first. And that's always going to be an important thing. You want to think about how you want your channel to look and how you want to represent yourself. So I'm not 100% sure how I want this to look right now. And we can always change it at a later date too. But I do know what I want to go ahead and put in the banner. So what we're going to go ahead and do is select just a plain white and go ahead and get your type tool, and you want to use a font that is really blocky for this, because we're going to put something in the banner, and something really blocky is going to work best. And I'm going to do all caps, and I'm going to go ahead and type Tutorial Tuesday. And then I'm going to go ahead and drag that on top of the banners and free transform that, and just make that big enough to fit in the banner, just like that. And we're just going to make it to where it just perfectly fits in there. That looks pretty good. I apologize if I am coughing a lot. I think I'm getting sick, but I'm not 100% sure, but I still wanted to make sure that you guys did get your Tutorial Tuesday this week. So if I cough too much, I do apologize for that. Now the white text looks pretty good in there, but as you can see, it looks really flat and boring in comparison to everything else. So go ahead and double click on your text layer, and what you're going to do is do some stuff to make it look just a little bit better. One of the simplest things you can do is go ahead and throw a gradient overlay on there. And go ahead and select your gradient overlay, and as I recommended in previous episodes, I try to keep the transition on the gradient overlay very slight. That's just, in my opinion, what looks the best. So I'm going to select this gray, and then I'm just going to select a little bit of a lighter gray just to give this little nice transition. But now that I'm messing around with it, I think that that's a little too gray, so let's go ahead and make that a little bit off-white, and then just very light gray, like that. Looks pretty good. Right there. And then you just have this slight transition, and even just that by itself already improves the look of that text. But as with all the effects in here, you can always do whatever you want and just mess around with everything. I want to go ahead and throw either an outer glow or a stroke on there, just to help it stand out a little bit better. If you do a stroke, you can see that is extremely dark. So either you can lower it. 2 looks pretty good like that. Another thing you might want to think about doing is go ahead and lower the opacity on the stroke as well. And it looks like we're going to go with maybe about 40. That looks really nice like that. Just helps it stand out a little bit better, and that looks a lot better than the plain looking one it was before. Now in the last episode I did the banner, and I just did it a flat color, but I think we might want to go ahead and play around with a gradient overlay again, but something with that dark of a gradient instead of this light one that we were doing. So I'm going to go ahead and select that really dark color, and then even just that light color right there, just to do for that gradient. And even that, as you can see, is already improving the look of your banner. So we want to do the same thing on this, just with a stroke. I'm going to go ahead and do a 2-stroke with a 40% opacity, again, just to see what that looks like. Let's go ahead and hide the logo. And even that has just improved the look of that, just to show you. It's going to be a different color, but that's just super flat, and it just doesn't look too good. I thought it did in the last episode, but I'm going to go ahead and go with this really nice gradient effect. So now we want to go ahead and make sure to apply that to all of the proper portions. We're going to paste it on, we're going to copy it from this first one and paste it onto both of our little cut pieces. And then this bottom one, we want to go ahead and paste it on there, but then we want to go ahead and make it, we want to change the gradient around a little bit so it looks like it's under. Now, you could do something like that and just reverse it, but then it still ends up with a really light edge right there. So I'm going to go ahead and reverse it, and then I'm going to select the lighter color, and I'm actually just going to make it darker. And that's looking pretty good, like that. But then let's go ahead and actually go ahead and just take the reverse off again. And that looks like it's really under there, and it just makes it look like it's coming, like it's actually folded. But that's a really dark transition, so let's go ahead and hit the gradient overlay again and select the darker one and just make it, you just want to make it just like a slight, really subtle transition. And there's a couple different ways you could have done this. You could like mess with the drop shadows a little bit, but I decided to actually do it with the layer itself. So we're going to go ahead and copy that because that looks pretty good and paste it to the other one. But now that we've done that, I actually want to go ahead and do it on the very bottom one as well. But if I mess with that and try to make it dark right here, it's going to make this dark up here as well, and it's just not going to look right. So now we want to go ahead and use a drop shadow. So go ahead and select that layer again. And this is editing this one over here, I believe. Yes. So let's go ahead and select that drop shadow and then just up the opacity. And then so we can see it a little better, let's just up it all the way. Let's increase the distance like that. Don't want to increase it too much because it does kind of come off the end right there. And then that's going to make it look like it kind of overlays a little bit better, excuse me. So I'm going to go ahead and actually just make that a little bit lighter, and that looks pretty good to me. It looks like it's folded very nicely. And then I actually want to go up to the top rectangle and maybe even take the drop shadows opacity down just a little bit. Alright, so let's go ahead and get these all the same. There we go. So there is our Tutorial Tuesday banner. That looks pretty good to me. Pretty good for this tutorial at least. And even just this by itself wouldn't be too bad for a banner. You'd make it a lot bigger, obviously, but we're not going to do just this, of course. Something I want to go ahead and just throw in here maybe is just a little bit of something down here. Maybe like the Twitter or something like that would be really good. The Twitter... Excuse me. I am checking the Twitter on my other screen real quick. Just to make sure I get it right. It is Tuesday Tutorial. So we're going to go ahead and just duplicate that gradient layer that we created, and then just drag it down here. Go ahead and change that to your Twitter, which is at Tuesday Tutorial. And then I'm just going to make that small enough to fit in the little tiny box down there. And that might actually end up being too small to even use because you might not even really be able to read that. But we'll leave it for now. We'll probably end up changing it a little bit later on because it's probably too small to see. But for now, I think that's okay. And let's go ahead and figure out exactly how we want to set this logo up in here. I'm actually thinking I want to keep the banner as the main, and then I have this duplicated larger portion of the logo. I'm going to go ahead and take that and just put it behind everything. And that's too large right now, so I want to go ahead and bring that down. Something maybe like that. Just so that it's kind of behind it, but you can kind of see what it is. We need to mess around with the size a little bit, but let's see. Maybe have the banner a little bit farther down and then shrink the size of this down just a little bit more. We wanted it a little bit larger than the one we were using, but I want to do it like this, but I don't want to have it as small as it was. So let's just see what we can do. Because this might just end up being just as small as it was. Something like that might be good. Just to kind of have the avatar in there. That'll work for now. It's starting to look like some kind of background. So what we're going to need to do is just add in some more stuff to make this a little bit more exciting. I think we'll go ahead and keep it like this for now. But let's go ahead and make sure it's completely centered, because right now I don't think this looks centered, but this box is certainly not centered. So we'll center it based off of that. There we go. So I'm thinking I want to add some maybe kind of like lines behind this, some kind of colored lines or something, like a sunrise type effect would be pretty nice. You could either use a texture or you can do it in Photoshop as well. We're just going to go ahead and do it in Photoshop. So just right above your background layer, just go ahead and create a new layer. And then all I'm going to do is maybe just draw like a triangle or something. And then I could draw every single triangle as well. And that would be the simplest way to do it. So let's go ahead and just fill in that path. And then go ahead and just create another layer and just keep on drawing these triangles. I'm actually going to go ahead and move it up to the top so that it's on top of everything, so that it's a little bit easier to see where my previous triangle was. So we want to just try and keep these kind of the same size so it just looks nice. But if you can't, you don't have to. So I'm just going to do that and just fill that again. And it doesn't have to be perfectly touching because we can adjust it. So then I guess we could actually, because we did that one, wonder if we could just duplicate that layer, and then what would happen if we just drag it and then free transform that and just try and line it up maybe. That might work. Actually, that works pretty well. I like the way that works. So just do that instead. Once you create your first one and it's flat, do your next one based off the angle of it and just keep it around the same size. And then just duplicate them and free transform them. So let's just keep doing that. And you just kind of got to fiddle around with it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just has to be pretty close. And you want to do this until you get to your halfway point. And as you're doing this, you could make them smaller or you could make them different sizes. I want to keep them all kind of the same size, distance from each other and stuff like that. Let me go ahead and tinker around with this a little bit. Just to get it a little bit better. And then just quickly throw the rest of this together. And as you get to the higher, closer to the halfway mark, you are going to have to turn them even farther. And we're pretty much almost there. One more, I think. Whoops. Maybe I should duplicate it first before I start free transforming it. We're going to go on and go a little bit longer than 15 minutes just so we can get this this background finished up real quick. And this one looks like it's almost going to be... This one is kind of the last one. It's kind of pointing straight down. And that's what we're going to be using for our kind of sunrise effect. So go ahead and select all of those layers except for the middle last one that we did. And go ahead and duplicate all of them. And then transform those horizontally. And then just drag them across. And then just line it up. Just like that. And you may need to adjust them a little bit so that it looks like this middle piece is actually in the middle. Now that I have the other side over there, I noticed that this decided to get your first YouTube background done. So I will see you guys next Tuesday.